to make sure
We're on.
meeting is now
Gotcha.
live streaming, I believe. It says so. Yep. So we are live, and thank you for allowing us to do an executive session. And just so the board's aware, we do have one extra item tonight, and that's on Ways and Means, number 7. And if you look at the agenda for that, the extra number 7 is recommend approval of the 2021-2022 tentative academic school calendar. And that is available. I shared it with each of you in PDF so that you have access to it. And I'll also share tonight again when we get to that number. It is actually, is right here for people to see, with the first day of school beginning August 24th for students, and the last day being May 27th, 2022, along with several other items that we talked about, one being the last Monday of each month being a half-day early dismissal for professional learning and collaboration among our staff. And in addition, the last 2 days of school, the 26th and 27th being early dismissal. That we
Tara said
discussed.
she's having trouble getting back in. She needs readmitted.
Oh, okay. Hold on here. I had a lot of people. I wasn't sure who. All right, there she is. There we go. I'm going to start letting other people in, and then approximately 3 minutes, we'll be good to go. Brooke, we do have a question for you.
Yes.
This evening, Mr. Groth is joining us via Zoom instead of being here in person. And
Okay.
he was wondering if it would be okay to have Mr. Kinshu run the meeting here and go through all the items, because it's just a little bit easier for Mr. Kinshu to do that.
That's totally appropriate.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have everyone joined for the most part, principal-wise. So that was our calendar. And the last thing that we'll do before we begin our meeting is, very quickly, there was a question asked about the amusement tax. Last year, if you recall, we did waive that tax for the year. And I believe it's coming up again for this year. And I guess local businesses have reached out to see if the district would want to do the same thing. Is that correct, Mrs. Duncan?
Correct. They're asking whether we would continue the waiver or if taxes are due starting in January, which would, January's month would be due in February. So we gave them a 6-month break.
Give another 6 months.
I mean,
So
the total would be, the total for the year is usually about $42,000. So you're giving them, you gave them about a $21,000 break so far. So they're asking, are we going to continue this or not?
I would say to do another 6 months.
Things have pretty much been shut down. I don't know what their revenue.
Well, we're looking at the Speedway, the roller rink, the golf. So I don't know if any of those have really been shut down. I think
No,
Wow, Magic Elm.
Magic Elm maybe.
no, they've been, I mean, probably not for one, but they just had an 80s night a couple weeks ago. So I don't know that anybody is open for business. I also can't say that they're completely shut down either, because I'm seeing events, especially the Speedway.
gotcha.
We can't cut one off and not the other, right?
Bill was wanting to know if you could cut one and not the other one.
No, I mean, you have.
It had to be all or
across the
nothing.
board.
Because the racetrack runs like nothing's wrong, nothing's going on. That's the part that I don't like.
Yeah,
I mean, they just hold their normal races and people show up and, everybody else is trying to abide by the rules, but they sure don't. And they're friends of mine. I mean, I shouldn't even be saying this, but
Yeah, I'm sure it affected the,
I don't think they're.
definitely Magic Gallon.
I'm sure they were affected, but again, not 100% closed. The bridges, I know that they had, leaks and stuff at some points and, so none of them have been shut down completely. I don't know what that means. I don't know what revenue or income is, but, where do you draw the line also?
But the decision has to be across the board. We can't pick and
Yeah, I was
choose.
gonna say, it's all.
can we do a percentage across the board? Or it has to be what it is?
We could do, I think they were paying, the normal amount ranges, I think they were doing about 4%, so. we could drop
I wouldn't mind cutting them a break. I don't know.
And I think one thing that they misunderstand too is amusement tax is really not their revenue. The gist of amusement tax is it's the person, it's supposed to be built into the price of whatever the event is. So when you are giving a break, you're technically not supposed to be giving a break to the company, the vendor. The break would be that they reduce their prices and give the break to the customer because the customer is the one who is paying the amusement tax. Like that's the whole idea of amusement tax.
Uh-huh.
Is that it's a percentage of your admittance fee or whatever event you're attending. And that's the one concept that they don't get because they feel that it's all their money, but the whole amusement tax is supposed to be the view that you as a patriot, you're patronizing their business and you're paying that piece. So if they're giving anyone a break, what they should have done is we gave them a break, then they should have given the green fees, a reduced price or whether it be 50 cents or whatever. But that's the whole idea of, just to give you a little background, that's the amusement tax purpose.
Did they lower the green fees, Luke?
What's that?
Did they lower the green fees last year since we didn't charge them anything?
I don't know that.
Well, from my standpoint, no. When, our prices throughout the year was not changed at all, so.
I'm just trying to explain that that's just part of what amusement tax is, so that you understand that.
So if we're not charging them anything, then, they have to understand they need to lower their fees. We're doing their customers favors. We're not doing them a favor.
Right, but I don't know that that's.
I know.
They view it as it's their revenue.
Well, my question is, if it's 4%, 4% of what? Is it 4% of their revenue?
No, it's 4% of their sales, and it's based on certain sales.
But if they're not selling anything, then we
Right,
wouldn't
well,
be receiving,
like-
right?
The golf fees would be,
But that's what I'm saying. So if they hadn't been open, we wouldn't have been,
right,
they wouldn't have had anything, we
They
wouldn't have had
wouldn't be
anything
paying.
to tax.
correct.
It's
So,
all relative.
Right, it's all relevant to
Yeah.
their amount of business.
Right.
So that's
that's where I'm going.
So if the speedway is open and they're running at full capacity, then they have, it's
Right.
a percentage of their,
Reported.
Right. Yes.
But, yeah,
Right.
so another way to look at it is we did give a break for the first half of the school year. They've had receipts and thank you for the explanation.
well, and I think you have to also look at, so if we give them a break for this whole year, then what changes or what criteria will we then turn around and say, okay, well, now we want you to pay. If come July 1, things are still haven't changed, but these businesses, that's their high season. So,
Right.
the criteria, we also, if we're going to extend it, then how do we then determine that, okay, now it's time to flip the switch back on?
Oh, is that percentage based on prior numbers or current numbers?
The percentages, it's 5%, but we have given them, it's a long story, but there is back to 1996, there's a level of collection that you can't exceed.
Right.
For us, it's not a big deal because we collect less than, we collect right around, I think we were allowed to collect like $47,000. Where it's more pertinent and a big deal is when you're looking like at Gettysburg, they have all those entertainment areas. They can get $1 million in entertainment fees. We don't. So for us, it's not a big.
What I'm saying though is like you said, like if a business is closed that pays that tax, pays the amusement tax, and they don't make any money, would that zero number be factored in now currently, or it would be factored in the future?
It's not, it's a set percent. What I was explaining is we gave them a break to stay under our level. So say Lincoln Speedway had all these big races, drew in huge crowds, and all the revenues were higher, and we collected $50,000. We collected over what we were supposed to. So then we would review it, and the next year give a credit to everyone across the board because it's a percentage, and then we would then allow that percentage for that year to stay under our 1996 allowable amount.
So the allowable amount aside, I think what Luke was asking, and this is just the clarification that I need, is if I'm Lincoln Speedway, and typically I make $100,000 a year in revenue, I am taxed 5% of that as my amusement tax. If, however, this year I made $10,000 in the entire
Still
year,
5%.
I'm still paying 5% of the $10,000 that I made. That $100,000 no longer comes into play.
Right.
Okay, so we
So
gave them a
it's-
break.
so it's current numbers.
Yeah,
Yes,
It's a
it's current.
percentage
of whatever they take in. So basically, we thought we were helping them keep the lights on by reducing some of what they would have to pay. But if they're keeping the lights on anyway, then all we're doing is hurting ourselves, and we're really not helping them anyway.
It would have been a help if they would have. I think it's on their perception though. You're not going to convince them that their perception is it's my revenue and you're pulling my revenue. They still don't get the point that amusement tax.
Yeah, but at least I'll have a better explanation to give next time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hear it.
yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
All right.
Did we get the answer then? So yes.
Yes, we're going to extend it.
No, we're not extending. Yes, we're going to tax.
Okay.
If you're ready, we can begin the meeting.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. It is 7:38. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Conewago Valley School Board January meeting. And I do want to announce that we had an executive session to talk about personnel before this meeting. And then I'd like to do our opening exercises. Pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one
One
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
All right, thank you. First up, everyone has a copy or received a copy of last month's minutes. Is there any feedback, updates to the minutes? I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a second. We do a verbal approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the building reports, and we'll start off at the high school with Dr. Bowman.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I want to start out by recognizing our music department for finding a creative way to present the talents of our students in lieu of a live concert this winter. Make sure to check out our social media accounts and theirs to view the performances they were able to create and record. I want to congratulate Dr. Ream and her students for a clean sweep in the Voice of Democracy essay contest held annually by the East Berlin VFW. This year, Sydney Christner took first place for the second year in a row. A very close second was Elizabeth Pfister. Third place, Elizabeth Moores. Fourth place, Stella Gladstone. And the Post Auxiliary held its own awards ceremony this past Sunday with a very limited audience. We are also pleased to share that Grace Nielsen successfully qualified for honors band on clarinet, placing third out of 27 clarinets to audition. While there are no in-person festivals this year, her placement will allow her the opportunity to submit an audition for the 2021 PMEA All-State Band this spring. Grace is also auditioning, believe it or not, for the All-State Choir as a piano accompanist. As you can tell, she is quite a well-rounded musician. Congratulations to Grace. Through our Oxstrong program, most recently, we have been able to run our Colonials of the Month program, where each department selects the student that best exemplifies our 4 Ps of participation in learning, politeness, preparation, and perseverance. Each student receives a $5 gift card to a local restaurant, Colonial cash to spend in our school store, an invite to the Colonial Achievement Reception later in the spring, a showcase in the lobby, and then a letter is sent home to their parents. So we're excited about that new venture with our Oxstrong program. I want to share with all of you that Mr. Connolly has been working with our middle school, our 8th graders in particular, providing tours of the CCTC to make sure that our students are aware of everything that is available through this new learning facility. To date, 32 tours have been completed. Joe told me that that would normally comprise 16 groups, but because of COVID, they had to split those groups in half. So he did 32 tours to date. So we're excited about that, and we're thankful for Joe and the middle school for making that work. We've successfully completed our winter Keystone Exams this past Thursday and Friday. Want to send a huge thank you out to Kelly Kuhn for her leadership and organization, as well as to our faculty and staff for their support. Our students certainly had an organized and focused setting for testing, and from all accounts gave us their best efforts. So we thank them as well. We recently learned that we have been awarded at New Oxford High School a grant for $100,000 based on the application that we submitted to the Huber Foundation, who owns our community partner, Miller Chemical, with whom we collaborated to actually submit the grant. We worked with Mrs. Aida Flores from Miller Chemical and Mrs. Krista Hayward from the Conewago Valley for Education to create our grant proposal, outlining our desire to build a greenhouse on campus that will help to support not only our ag program, but to grow our FFA club, while also building stronger partnerships with our local partners like Miller Chemical. We could not be more excited to get started on the actual planning of this project very soon. And then to close out our athletic report, Mr. Worley asked me to share that the winter season has restarted. And although quite different from any other year, we are hoping to be able to continue competing in basketball, swimming, wrestling, and competitive cheerleading, as well as with our club teams this year in bowling and chess. At the high school level, we have 107 student athletes participating in boys and girls basketball, boys and girls swimming, cheerleading, and wrestling. At the middle school level, we have 87 student athletes participating in boys and girls basketball, cheerleading, and wrestling. All participants, as you may or may not know, are required to wear a face covering throughout the entirety of all their practices and events, except for our swimmers while they're in the pool. While we are able to open the season Friday, our boys and girls basketball teams unfortunately lost tough games to Bermudian Springs, but we are happy to have the opportunity to compete against someone else this winter. Our wrestlers also had the chance to open up in a modified individual tournament at Conestoga Valley on Saturday, with 4 of our wrestlers placing first, and the team placing second out of the 4 teams that competed. Our chess club began competition this weekend using both virtual and in-person matches, and our inaugural bowling club, working with the Hanover Bowling Center, had its first match this past Friday. Again, our hope is that we can continue to provide an opportunity for our student athletes to have a winter season while maintaining the health and safety of all involved. So again, I want to thank Mr. Worley and Mrs. Musselman and all our coaches and student athletes for doing their part to make that happen. That's it for the high school. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bowman. A lot of positive things going on at the high school. Next, let's go with Dr. Corbin and the report on special education.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully everyone had a nice and relaxing holiday break and a good new year. First, I'd like to welcome our newly appointed gifted teacher at the middle school. I'm sure Mr. Muller is also going to share this. But Shannon Lynch comes to us from the middle school ELA department with a wealth of knowledge. Her first day was actually today, and she's already brainstorming additional ways to work with our gifted and talented population of students. So we want to welcome Sharon to that gifted team, and we look forward to all of her success in that role. Our future transitions class, with the leadership of Mrs. Latchall, they completed their landscaping in the cafeteria outdoor courtyard area before the cold weather hit, and they have restained the benches in the outdoor senior commons area that have also, they have also worked on organizing the colonial closet. These students enjoyed working and making improvements around the high school. The high school life skills students have adjusted well with the changing of schedules we've had this year. Not only have the kids hung in there, but the teachers also talk about the support of the parents from week to week. The Zoom sessions have also been successful in a large part due to the parents and their continued support at home. In the middle school, the special education department has been working hard and going above and beyond to communicate to parents and students almost on a daily basis. This communication has led to an increase in special education students attending every day, and teachers have also worked to maintain communication with students who have been unable to keep up with their schoolwork. With this increased communication, many students have been able to get back on track. Students and teachers have also been resilient with the changes after the holiday break. Special education students no longer attend the resource room. They are in class every day, and they receive increased instruction and service time. This has been a great plus. At CBIS, students who are attending every day certainly benefit from being there daily, as their grades are good overall and there is very little missed work. One of the teachers shared that 2 of her students told her that when they had to decide about coming in for those 4 days or staying home to do remote learning, that they told their parents that they wanted to come in person because they knew it was better for them to be at school than to be at home. Now on to the elementary. The teachers there shared how well the special education population is adapting to the many changes that are occurring throughout the year to keep everyone safe. The teachers have had very good participation from the special education students during remote learning. They're completing most of their seesaw activities and attending most Zooms. They're also very pleased with the parent support received this year. Some students even continued with their check-in, check-out daily using a behavior book, and this has been very motivating for these students. They work to earn smiley faces throughout the school day, and if they have 80% or more smiley faces, they get a reward at the end of the day, like Go Noodle or extra gym time, drawing time. You can only imagine how motivating that is for the students at that elementary level. The last thing that I just wanted to share was that prior to the holiday break, special education students K-12 that met the qualifications were invited to attend in-person instruction for 4 additional days. Attendance averaged 91% daily, with a total of 252 special education students participating in in-person instruction. One teacher shared how much parents appreciated this invitation for their child with special needs. Another teacher shared how she and her partner teachers were afforded more one-on-one time and were able to continue some holiday traditions like crafts, an escape room, trivia at their own pace and their own skill level. Teachers felt a sense of community was strengthened during this week. Other teachers enjoyed incorporating additional activities such as reader's theater, writing their own ending to the Grinch, and creating notes for their parents. These 4 days prior to the holiday break were important and not only provided a chance for the learning support teachers to work with these special education students, but also the regular education teachers. The regular education teachers also embraced the time given for additional small group and one-on-one instruction. And I just want to say kudos to all of the administrative team, teachers, parents, students, cafeteria workers, instructional aides, custodians, everyone that came in and all of their hard work and dedication for our special education students. throughout the school year and over those 4 days prior to break. And that's everything I have from the world of special ed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Corbin. Next up, we'll go to the middle school and Mr. Muller.
Thank you, and good evening, school board, administrators, and member of the Colonial community. Appreciate the opportunity to say a few words here about the middle school. As Dr. Corbin said, I'd like to welcome Shannon Lynch as she enters her new role as our gifted teacher, media specialist. Again, I checked in with her a few times last week and also today. And while it's all new and there's a lot going on, she's really excited about that. So we're excited to see her do that. Also like to welcome Luke Stoltzfus. Luke enters an LTS role for us in ELA on our blended team. He's done a number of those LTSs in different buildings, and we look forward to his contributions to our students. Finally, I'd like to thank Becky Myers for all of her work over the years. Again, Becky entered retirement a few days ago, I guess officially. She will be absolutely missed in our building. 11 years and just about 30 years in education. So Becky is off into retirement world, and we will certainly miss her. Thanks to Dr. Corbin and her team for helping us develop and vet our new resource room format, as she talked about. Those students are back in classrooms. They're doing a fabulous job. Again, a lot to work out there with that deal. But again, our folks did a wonderful job of looking through that, making it happen for the betterment of our students. I'd like to give a shout out to our curriculum leaders. They work really hard with their departments throughout the year, digging into our building goals, among many other things. And one of our goals is to dabble and investigate a little bit with performance-based assessments. Each department has implemented one at each grade level. And so they're working through that. Currently, those same department chairs, curriculum leaders, are steering their departments through their second benchmark test. So among many other things. So again, with the rigors of the year, that job can be challenging, but they've done a wonderful job for us and we're proud of them. Preparations have finished for next Monday's in-service day. I'd like to thank Mr. Beeman, Ms. Kress, and Ms. Garkoff for their input. And we are excited and looking forward to a very productive day of professional learning. Got some unfortunate news from Mr. Dahl last week. He's telling me that the folks at Mantech down in York have decided to cancel the What's So Cool About Manufacturing for this year. Our kids did very well in that historically and are typically excited about that. But again, the format, the virtual piece was too much to conquer, I think, and they're just moving away from it for a year. So we'll be back at it again next year. Looking forward to it. We're also currently investigating the Connects STEM Design Challenge. We're hoping that comes to fruition. Our kids love that activity too and typically do very well in that as well. I'd like to give a shout out to Katie Terwinski in 8-1. Katie's qualified to participate in the Pima District 7 South Band Festival. The second time Katie has qualified for that prestigious group. And Mr. Rohrball, who you all know, has been in our district for a long, long time. And he states that he believes that Katie might be the only middle school student to ever earn that honor and participate in that prestigious group as a middle schooler. So congratulations, Katie. Also from 8-1, Cameron Miller will have a poem published in Appley Publishing as part of their recent poetry contest. So we're excited to see that come out. And we'd like to give a shout out to Steph Myers, our ELA chair, for her guidance in that effort. And to kind of recap what Dr. Bowman said, I did get the link today from Mr. Rohrball with our band, orchestra, and chorus. Again, they finished virtual concert recordings. It's certainly an alternative to what they typically do. And with the closure in December, some of their recordings were cut short, but they finished that last week. And again, we'll be pushing that out here on our social media platforms. I looked through them all today. And again, certainly very proud of keeping music alive during a difficult time. So that's a little wrap from middle school. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Muller. We'll move next to CVIS and Dr. Almacost.
Good evening, everybody. Just real briefly, like Mr. Muller, Dr. Bowman, I want to thank our music department, Carly Moyer, Becky Stein, and our new orchestra director, Lauren Porshi. They went above and beyond, and we had our concert out on our website and our social media platforms before the holidays. It wasn't the same as performing in front of 1,300 people, but I'm I'm sure 1,300 people got the opportunity to watch our kids in action. So they did a really nice job with that. I just to let you know, our remote learning before Christmas, we consider to be a huge success. Our attendance rate that we tracked for every Zoom class, I think I said this last time, was well over 90%. So it was a good, and that was on a daily basis for our kids. So it's certainly well attended. Like everyone else, I want to thank Dr. Corbin and Mrs. Biken for helping us get our learning support kids in every day. It was a great experience from all reports from parents, students, teachers. It was a meaningful week for those students to get some extra help and to also have some opportunity to have some fun. What we do at CVS, hand out a lot of candy canes and gave away a lot of candy. So it was, for all of us, so it was a good time. Just want to recognize our teachers with the number of kids that we have increasing going on quarantine. We've had to get very creative in how to keep kids engaged in learning. And so they are trying all kinds of new things, having kids Zoom into class. And it's been by all reports, it's been well received at this point to keep our kids engaged in our classes while they're home in quarantine. And finally, we just want to thank Brad from maintenance. This past week, he's finishing up hanging 3 70-inch TVs, 2 in the cafeteria and 1 in the lobby. And we worked with a company to develop a CVS kindness wall where we'll be able to stream messages across that. Kids can send messages to one another. Teachers can send messages, all with a district building level administrator approving those messages. And then it will allow those messages then to be pushed out to social media, our Facebook page, our Twitter. So we're really excited about ramping up our PBIS program to the next level. So that'll be a welcome addition to our building. The kids think we're watching The View in the cafeteria, so they won't. But from that's us from CVS. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Almagas. Let's go next to CTE and Dr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Kinshu. A couple of things from CTE and some involved in NOE as well, and Mr. Cobb will fill in where we need to. We've been working real hard with our professional learning community sessions, dealing with science of reading. We have a bunch of Dr. Pam Kastner videos that we watch and respond to with the staff, and they're going very well. It's trying to introduce more and more of the research behind literacy and reading. Also in both buildings, we have our big 3 lessons, our PBS introduction. Now what we're working on right now is lessons that were created by the teachers to help the kids understand exactly what's expected in the classroom, in the restroom, in the hallways, and so forth. So these were lessons developed by the teachers for the kids, and they work on our big 3 lessons, which are treat others right, maximize your potential, and make smart decisions. So we're going to work on those. So come back later on in the spring, we'll then work on transportation and a couple other items as well. Just trying to clarify exactly, letting the kids know exactly what's expected, dealing with those big three lessons we have. Also, next week is our DIBELS mid-year assessment training for all kids, mostly instructional aides. We've done most of those assessments with the kids, checking up on their reading areas. And finally, today is day 86, if my math is correct. So that makes our 100th day on February 1st. So we're getting ready some activities for the kids to be doing on that day, February 1st, and then 100th day of the school year. Mr. Cobb.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to send out a special thank you to Mrs. Stoltzfus for organizing a virtual holiday sing-along and game show for both elementary schools. It was well done and enjoyed by all, so thank you, Mrs. Stoltzfus. Unique to NOE, I'd like to recognize Roxanne Hall's retirement. Her last day was on Friday, and our students and staff did 2 separate Zoom celebrations for her. Roxanne Hall served our students, community, and public education for 35 years. So congratulations to Roxanne Hall. And last but not least, our Gertrude Hawk fundraiser begins this week at NOE. So if anyone is in need of ordering their special Valentine some chocolate, please contact our school office and help support our PTO. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Sanders and Mr. Cobb. I appreciate the building reports. Next will be the student report.
I believe Isabel is here. Yeah, there she is.
Good evening, everyone. So I don't have too much on my end to report tonight. I had a student council meeting today, and we're currently in the process of planning events for the spring. We're thinking to do stuff outdoors, so that would be safer with COVID. So we're planning on a movie outdoors. So we're thinking a Friday between 8 and 10, where students can just come and put a blanket on the ground and just social distance and sit and watch the movie. So that's what we have planned right now for that. And that's all I have to report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. That sounds like fun. All right, next on the agenda is the Assistant Superintendent Report.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I have a few items for discussion this evening. The first being a dual enrollment memorandum of understanding with Mansfield University, which comes to you this evening for approval. Thrilled to work with Mark Rodrigo from the high school as well as high school administration in bringing forward our third agreement. So our two other agreements that we have, one being with HAC and the other being Harrisburg University. So we're excited for the opportunity to add a new university to provide more opportunities for students to gain college credits. Another two items for your consideration. One, this evening, Senate Bill 530, Act 110 of 2020, which went into effect November 3rd, 2020, created a new section of school code, which henceforth is bringing forward to you this evening updated of policies regarding that new language reflective based upon that new school code. For February, 815.2 live streaming policy will be coming to you for study as well as for approval. We plan to share this draft policy with our administrative team, gain some feedback prior to bringing that to you in February. This is important so that families and teachers and all members of our community understand that we are recording. So whether this is either through athletics, and there's the potential for recording, through our educational opportunities, either through Zoom or through any of our student learning management systems, this is important that we have a policy on record. This will also outline expectations for professional staff as well as for students and provide notice for our community. We have two committees that are going on right now, one being the Conewago Valley Online Academy. This committee, we're looking at the expansion for the 2021-2022 school year, working with high school administration and approximately 35 faculty to gain their input on how we can continue to move forward and make the Conewago Valley Online Academy the very best. Our goal ultimately is to provide this as being the premier option for those in our community. The second committee that I'm working with Dr. Corbin, our administrative staff, as well as school psychologists, counselors, teachers who had volunteered, paraprofessionals, is the Gifted Education Committee. The goal of this committee would be to come to you to the May study session as well and approve a plan for gifted education moving forward in the Conewago Valley School District. For Keystone Exams, Dr. Bowman had recognized that we had just completed the second wave of the winter Keystones. I'd like to recognize Dr. Bowman for his leadership and his training, as well as Kelly Coon for her planning and the teachers who served as proctors. This is no small feat during COVID, and navigating children who are either ill or out on quarantine has been quite challenging. So I do want to personally thank them for their work. And finally, the last item that I have is coming up on January 18th, grades K through 8 will be engaging in a professional learning day, while grades 9 through 12 engages in their transition day to prepare for second semester and to close out the first semester. And that's all I have for you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. And we'll go next to the Superintendent Report.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome back to school, so to speak. Actually brings me to my first announcement tonight. I did send out a district sky alert around maybe, well, I sent one at 4 and then had to send one shortly thereafter. Unfortunately, we did reach the number of positive COVID or probable or positive COVID confirmed cases in the district of 6 at the high school. And our high school will be on remote learning tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. There will be no extracurricular activities happening during that time either. That will give us 3 days to clean the building and prepare for the return of students on Friday, January 15th. It's unfortunate, but with that, so parents understand and the board understands, when the students come back on Friday, our count goes back to 0 again. So now we start a new 14-day rolling total starting on Friday the 15th. So it's a fresh start on Friday the 15th, which means next time we get to 6 cases again, if that happens, we would have to close again for 3 days. But we are pretty close in other buildings also to having to make that decision. So please continue to check our website and the COVID page, where it has a live updated dashboard for you each day. And I would just urge again to parents, to our community, please, please, please be vigilant of your child's health. And if they're not feeling well, err on the side of caution, and please do not send them in. Because anything that happens ends up being and it does come back, and then it counts as a case. So, err on the side of caution whenever possible, please.
Dr. Riddle, just for clarification, the 6 cases, and then the mandatory shutdown for 3 days, that's required per the state guidelines?
That's required by the state when we sign the attestation form in November. So what happened is, while it says recommendations, when we signed that attestation form, they became requirements for the district because we chose to have in-person learning versus remote learning while insubstantial. Had we not signed the form, we would automatically have been moved into remote learning, no questions asked. And again, I stated in my emails to the community, we know the best way to educate kids is in person, and we're doing the best job we can. Like I said, our job is to try to keep the number of cases down so that we don't have to continue to do this. We know it's disruption, and unfortunately with this, there is no idea of when it will happen until the cases come in, so there's really no time to prep and prepare families for, like, by the way, we're going to remote learning like we did in the past. We're trying to stay ahead of the numbers game.
Thank you.
Also, just a reminder to our community, if you get a chance, please go to our district website, go under the district tab. There's a new feature under the district tab called demographic study. And that shows you the results of our first demographic study for the district. That shows that in the next 5 to 10 years, we could see substantial growth in our district to the tune of 1,355 new homes and a potential 752 new students to our district. So as a district, we'll look at that and we'll start to reach out to different companies to begin a feasibility study this summer to figure out what our next steps are as a district. So very important. Finally, I want to take a minute and recognize our school board. This month is the Pennsylvania School Board Association School Board Recognition Month. And I just want to take a moment to recognize our school board and thank you for the countless hours and time that you put into this job. And might I add, it's unpaid. And that Luke Crayville still comes back, and we appreciate that. But in all seriousness, I thank you. I cannot thank you enough for just the time that you take in helping to approve school board policy, voting on budgets, providing, approving and providing input on personnel decisions and guiding decisions that affect the future of the school district. I thank you also just for your support and guidance as I finish up year 1 of being a superintendent here in Conewago Valley. It's kind of hard to believe that it's just 1 year. Not saying that it felt longer, but we've dealt with a lot in our first year. And your support and guidance has been nothing but exceptional. And I thank each and every one of you for all that. If you were here tonight, I would be giving you a certificate of appreciation. We do have 3 that I'll hand out right now. And then for the other 6 members that are remote, we'll figure out a way to get those to you. First, like to give one to Melanie Sauter. Thank you for everything and stepping in on short notice also.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll consider running. I didn't really give you an option, so hopefully you'll consider.
Right. Thank you.
Mr. Craybill, thank you very much, sir, for your service. Appreciate it.
Thank
Mr. Kinshu.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll do an elbow up there. Absolutely. And also tonight, also receiving a certificate, and I'll make sure they get it, is our own student report, is Isabella Banker for her time and effort with the school board also. So Isabella, congratulations. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Russo, and thank you to all of the board members for your service and countless hours. Okay, next is public comment on the agenda related items. Do we have any comments from the public?
We do not.
All right, then we'll move to the next agenda item, which is honors and recognition. First is I'd like to congratulate the Coach of the Year for the York Adams County Tennis, which is Travis Martin. And then also we had second team recognition for Aaron Little, Kayla Hoffman, an honorable mention for Alex Wolf, Allison Horick, and Jocelyn Loss. Also in the recognition on the agenda is the list of college acceptance. So we continue to have students get accepted into colleges across the state of Pennsylvania and even across different regions, as well as get scholarships from those schools. So congratulations to all. Moving on to the next item in the agenda is the treasurer's report. Mr. Fritz, I'll turn it over to you.
The balance of the four accounts is $27,895,835.75. I so move the treasurer's report be filed for all.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Bill Hoffman.
And with that, Ms. Duncan, we'll need to do a roll call vote.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
Mr. Flickinger,
Yes.
Mr. Huffman,
Yes.
Ms. Gauger,
Yes.
Mrs. Bolton,
Yes.
Mr. Craybill,
Yes.
Mrs. Souter,
Yes.
Mr. Kinshu,
Yes.
and Mr. Groff.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move to the next agenda item, which is the recommendations for board action. First is finance. Mr. Grable, I'll go back to you.
I'd like to recommend items 1 and 2 for approval.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was Ed Bro.
Thank you. And Ms. Duncan?
Okay, Mr. Flickinger,
Yes.
Mr. Huffman,
Yes.
Ms. Gauger,
Yes.
Mrs. Bolton,
Yes.
Mr. Craybill,
Yes.
Ms. Souter,
Yes.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
Mr. Kinshu,
Yes.
and Mr. Groff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next is ways and means. And Ms. Souter, I'll go to you.
I'd like to recommend items 1 through 6 in Ways and Means, plus an additional item number 7 for approval by the board.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
That's the second.
Roll call vote.
Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Huffman,
Yes.
Ms. Gauger,
Yes.
Mrs. Bolton,
Yes.
Mr. Craybill,
Yes.
Ms. Souter,
Yes.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
and Mr. Kinshu,
Yes.
and Mr. Groff.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Mr. Flickinger, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Flickinger. Sorry.
Yeah.
You
All right, I'm not running. Forget it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I get the hint. I get the subtle hint. I get it.
Go first next vote.
All right, next is personnel. Mr. Craybill.
I'd like to recommend items 1 through 9 with additional items 10 through 13 for approval.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Flickinger,
Yes.
Mr. Huffman,
Yes.
Ms. Gauker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bolton,
Yes.
Mr. Craybill,
Yes.
Ms. Souders,
Yes.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
Mr. Kinshu,
Yes.
and Mr. Groff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Duncan.
Thank you.
Next is other business which may come before the board. Do we have any items from the public?
We do not still.
Then next would be just a reminder on the dates. Our next meeting will be the first Monday in February. And it is 8:16. I would call the meeting adjourned.
Go Ohio State.